Hi everybody, Russ members along. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're made aware of any time we put new content on. As always, we'd like to thank our channel sponsors, Untuck It. Today's guests, plural, as we've got a special four-legged guest as well. It's Peter Singh. How are you, Peter? Do you want to introduce
I'm very well, thank you very much. I'm very well, and I've got my best little friend here, Dobby, in his 1958 West Ham shirt, so he's looking good, I hope, for the camera.
Love it.
I hope everyone agrees too.
Yeah, I love it. It's quite funny. We had a spate of ex-players when we were interviewing them. Their dogs would come into frame, and so I think we've had Frank McAvenny's Doberman. He's got a massive dog.
I know Frank's a big dog lover. Frank is a friend of mine on Facebook, and I know he's a big dog lover. He's a terrific fella, Frank.
Yeah, he does a lot of stuff for this when he's in Greece, isn't it, or somewhere like that, or Cyprus, or it was.
Yeah.
And we had Razor's dog on. He's got a little.
That's it. Yeah, I've seen Razor's dog tonight, little Chihuahua.
Little Chihuahua, yeah, exactly. And I think my dog's made an appearance, and I think it might be Martin. And we have Martin Allen, Mad Dog. So it's a dog friendly place. But how are you, Peter? How's things, man?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. Obviously, just going back to Martin Allen there for a minute. I go back to the years of when I used to go to West Ham when Martin Allen used to play, and I was most impressed to see the dog eat a biscuit at the end of his video. It was most entertaining for me. It was brilliant.
I didn't even realise that one until literally at the end. I saw the end.
I noticed it straight away because obviously, like, we used to call him the dog, and obviously, I remember him as a dog, and it was brilliant. But it's obviously lockdown, and where we are. It's a tough time. It's a tough time.
Yeah.
It's a crazy year. It really is a crazy year, and things ain't great for everybody. But I think we've all got to stick together. I'll tell you what. On a positive note, I know we can talk about a lot of negative notes, but I personally think, on a positive note, your channel is doing a lot of good. Your channel's bringing a lot of people together.
Yeah,
and I think that is doing a lot of good, and I think we need more of that because it's a difficult year, mental health, etc., which I'll talk about later on in depth. Sure. But I really think your channel's doing a lot of help, and I think we all need to stick together, stick to what we know a bit, and get a bit of comfort from that. Really,
Yeah, I think we do. I think that the fact that we've got. Potentially there's a little bit of light at the end of it's not really. Everyone thought it's going to be light at the end of the tunnel on Thursday, and it's sort of a little bit less. But the fact that we've got potentially 2,000 fans coming Man United game potentially, that's good. That's good. That's a start, isn't it? And so at least there's it's baby steps. But I think it's good. And we'll it's everyone's. All the West Ham sort of content people are trying to get together and do some charity stuff as well together. Yeah, it's important, because with West Ham, there's always a cynicism, there's always doom and gloom, and it's nice to have a bit of shade.
Russ. I'll tell you something. You say there's doom and gloom, but I'll tell you something with West Ham. Inside out, is that we all come together and we all support each other. And that's the greatest thing about our football club. It might not be winning Champions Leagues or FA Cups or Premier Leagues, etc., or League Cups. But I'll tell you something, as a group, we all come together as a family.
True,
and we all help each other. And that's the best thing ever about West Ham fans.
It's definitely that sort of East End spirit of the Blitz, type. Yeah, it really is. And you point out as well, you obviously on Facebook and the Facebook groups and whatnot. And there's been a lot of people who've been struggling with bereavements and stuff like that as well. And you can see the West Ham fraternity sort of coming in force. Even people on Twitter say, "Oh, I'm having a bit of a shit day today, not feeling too good." And like 20 minutes later, they'll put a message up saying, "I've had 20 people call me up or message me," and that's nice. And I think that's what makes us different. I think that's why people.
I'll tell you what it is. I think personally, what you're talking about there is called the heart of East London. It's the heart of East London. The most warmest people you will ever get to meet in your entire life. Forget about the football for a minute if you want, but the warmest people that will come together and support you. Unbelievable set of people, the EastEnders. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's true. It is true, and it is that, you know, when we're, you know, and I think also, you know, the fact that we haven't never won, you know, never won like a title or anything like a first.
We don't support them
title.
for that, Russ. We don't.
No, we
support
don't, and that's it. And that's it. I think
that's it.
I think
we know
why.
the contract. We know the contract, mate. We got in it because we're not going to win anything, but occasionally we are going to play some bloody good football, mate, and shock a lot of people, you know. So we didn't get in it to win trophies and all that. It's about West Ham is not about winning trophies. West Ham is about a feeling. It's about a feeling, and that's a fact, you know.
Yep. To be honest, Mr. Pard, you got it right. I think with more than just a football club, you know what I mean? As a statement when he obviously famously put it on the t-shirts, but it's true, isn't it? We are more. And I think that's why we get a lot of like you know, non-West Ham fans watch the channel and they message me and, you know, on Twitter or Facebook or even like comments on the YouTube channel because they know how unique we are as a bunch of fans. And I know we say it, but it's true. I just think it's really true. You know,
it's a fact.
People,
it's a fact. It's an absolute fact. We are a unique set of, you know, football fans. And look, at the end of the day, I'm not saying there's, you know, not other unique set of football fans.
No,
Of course there are. There's some wonderful set of football fans out there that I respect wholeheartedly. But, you know, being brought up on West Ham like I was, and the way I was introduced to the club and the story I've got to tell, it was special. And that club is special, West Ham, and it will be in my heart forever. And I'll tell you something, if it wasn't for West Ham, promise you, I wouldn't be sitting in there. And that's how special the West Ham United Football Club is.
Wow. And obviously, you know, you mentioned all the dog stuff. How many dogs you got?
At the moment, we're an animal rescue. We've got 42 dogs. Dobby, which is one of them here, sitting here in his little 1958 West Ham shirt. Dobby was found in a cardboard box with his siblings, believe it or not, in the middle of the road in Spain. In the middle of the road, and we rescued them. And this little guy, we rehomed all of them, but this little guy, I couldn't let this guy go. I had a bond with him from the start, and so we got 42 dogs. It's the hardest job I've ever done in my entire life, looking after 42 dogs. On the positive side, it's an absolute pleasure to see a dog that's been abused all its life. And you know, hit all its life and beaten up all its life, to see their tail wag for the first time, and that is the scoring the goal of our job. When you see the dogs, you know, wag their tail for the first time and finally realise, hold on a minute, you're not a bad guy, you're going to look after me, and you see their little tail wag and a glint in the eye, that's the goal scoring moment for me, and it's a beautiful moment, you know.
Yeah, that must be amazing. It must be amazing, as I said, and not just that. A lot of patience, a lot of dog walking, a lot of. When I've only got one, and she's a nightmare. So you've got 42 of them as well.
Like I said, it's the hardest job we've ever done in our entire life. I'm seriously, you know, looking after. Say again, sorry.
No, I didn't say nothing. I didn't say nothing, Peter.
Oh, sorry. I thought you'd gone there on the internet. Sorry. I was just saying it is the hardest job in the world. Honestly, it really is the hardest job. It's the cleaning, it's the walking, it's the feeding. But then again, don't forget, it's the raising the money for them. You know, it's the raising the money for the vet treatment, for the foods. And we've got, you know, we've been running as a charity now for 7 years.
Yeah.
And we was a really, really successful charity. Seriously, we was unbelievable. We started off on the ground running. We was absolutely hugely successful. And sadly, all of a sudden, you got these group of trolls that started attacking us, okay? And they took us down virtually overnight. To a point now where we're struggling for a bag of food, you know? That's how bad it is. 3, 4, 5 years ago, we was in a position where we could get any dog in Europe, any dog that had been severely beaten, abused, anything, and we could straight away rescue them, give them all the treatment they wanted, and not worry about the money. Now, not even trying to, you know, we're trying to afford the food for the dogs, and that's how bad these trolls have done us, you know. And it was all down to jealousy, you know. And the animal world is a fickle world. The animal rescue world is a very fickle world, you know. Sadly, I didn't know about it when I first came into it, but I do now. And when people see you do well, they want to bring you back down, and they brought us back down with pure lies, you know. And sadly, and that's the thing, you know, when you're being trolled for 5 years non-stop, it's a serious thing, you know. It's a serious thing. And you know, mental health, I've had 2 nervous breakdowns over the last 5 years, severe depression, anxiety because of what these people do. And it's at the end of the day, Russ, I know we're talking about West Ham here, but we'll have a little bit of an introductory here like we're doing. If you want to bring someone down, it's very, very easy to do it, mate, you know. Like if I wanted to bring you down tonight, all I've got to do, mate, is put a little post on Facebook or anywhere else on social media and say, oh, you know that Russ guy on Amazon 11, yeah? I see him the other day and I see him do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Now, there's going to be 2 or 3 people that are going to look at that and say, yeah, I wonder. And they're going to tell other people. And they're going to tell other people, yeah? Now, there's going to be 50% that say, like, hold on a minute, he's talking absolute rubbish. And then 50% are going to say, I wonder if Russ did do that. Yeah. And that's how easy it is to bring someone down, mate. When someone's jealous of you, you know, and that's the heartbreaking thing. And at the end of the day, all that happens is the animals suffer, you know, all that happens is the animals suffer. And, you know, there's a lot of evil people out there in the world. On the other hand, there's a lot of very kind people in the world that help us.
Sure.
You know, so it works both ways. But I'll tell you something, Russ. I know we're not talking about West Ham at the minute, but might be talking a little bit about mental health and that. But it's been a rough 5 years, mate. Seriously, mate. When you hit nervous breakdowns and blokes don't want to talk about mental health and blokes don't want to talk about nervous breakdowns, I'll tell you something now. When you get depression and anxiety in the way I did, you talk to your nearest and dearest, you go to your doctor, you try and get all the help you can, okay? Because I'll tell you something, when that messes up, it ain't like a broken leg or a broken arm for a footballer. It can last for life, you know? And you've got to talk to people, and that can help, you know?
It's very true. My wife, she's a mental health first aider, so it's so true. And that's sort of, again, it's like, you know, a little bit of light in it, but that's why I started doing the lunchtime things, because like you know, particularly people working from home, if they're an office-based job and they're working from home, you could easily, and my wife's exactly the same, she literally won't take a lunch break, and that's not good for her well-being, because she's literally encompassed with work, because you don't have to get up and go commute in. And so that's why we did it, because it's a bit of fun, bit of silliness, but it just breaks the day up a bit. But I know, I totally understand that, and it's true, because a lot of people say, you know, you've got to talk out, but you know, you've lived through it, so you know, for you it's even more of a compelling story and a compelling reason for people to reach out if they feel. And you know, I say on every episode of my lunch run.
You were saying the other day, sorry, Russ, to interrupt you, but you were saying the other day on the on your lunchtime show that, and it stuck with me a little bit in my head. You said it's a time to get some downtime. It's a time to relax. It's a time to just have a little chat. And I'll tell you something, Russ, that really stuck with me. And the reason why that stuck with me is because a few weeks ago, I was suffering from, and I'll be honest now, right? I'll wear my heart on my sleeve, right?
Yeah.
I was suffering from some of the worst anxiety and depression I've ever suffered from in my life a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And I had to go in and pay an internet bill. And I went into the shop to pay an internet bill. And I like the guy in there. He's a nice guy, he is. And we had a chat. And he said he's suffering from mental illness at the minute. And we had a little chat. And it really helped me, right? It really helped me having a chat with this fella, right? And it helped him too. And that's why I think it's so important the show you're doing at lunchtime. Because it's not just sort of like, you know, that comment you said about just connecting and taking some time out and just, you know, grouping together can help people. It can help people mentally, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean at any time. I don't just mean at COVID-19 time. COVID-19 time is obviously extra special, all right? We need to really come together and help each other more now. But what you're doing at that show is brilliant. And I think you've got to keep it up without putting pressure on yourself. And it's a really important aspect, you know, because, you know, look, we've all got to get our shutters down here and say, look, hold on a minute. We do suffer from anxiety and depression. We're not brick walls. You know, we are West Ham fans and any other fans out there, and we can suffer, you know, and we've all got to support each other.
It is true. It is so true, and it is about support, and it is about talking, and it is about having the bollocks to talk as well, because some people don't.
Of course it is. Why be ashamed of it, Russ? At the end of the day, mate, there's nothing to be ashamed of,
no,
mate. My mum suffered from depression, and I'm talking about the worst depression you could imagine. I witnessed it. My dad did. So what? Look, depression is like a broken leg. It's like a broken arm. It's like a bad hip. Okay, you must talk about it. There is nothing to be ashamed of. There is nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever. No.
It's so true. It's so true. There's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's so common that and I think also, but I don't think people realise when they've got it. Do you know what I mean? Until it's too late. Do you know what I mean? It's like because I think people, I don't know. For me, it's like, I mean, that's part of the reason. It wasn't anything. I mean, it was to improve my mental well-being and stuff. Was starting the whole YouTube channel, because it's like, for me, it gives me that hour of escapism, every night. So we're hiding, removing the fourth wall. It's about 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. You and me sat down in front of a laptop, and I'm in my garage, and I think you need that. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise you're in your house, and particularly during lockdown. I know it's not a case for afterwards, because afterwards, hopefully it means a blueprint, and people start, looking into mental health a bit more seriously, because of the fact of COVID has exaggerated it all, because you've been in for 4 weeks, or last time for God knows how long lockdown 1.0 was. And that's why I did it. And that's why, like, I mean, I was on a Nigel Khan and Kane Town Lens podcast the other day, and that was one of the questions. You do all these little game shows. I said, I do, because it's somewhat my well-being as well as yours, because I like to. It gives me a level of escapism and stuff,
exactly.
And that's important, and it's important. And if people want to listen to it, brilliant. If they don't, bugger off, go and listen to something else. If you don't want to talk about what flavour of crisp Declan Rice is, that's your prerogative. There's a million other channels on there.
At the end of the day, Ross, what you got to look at, right, is you started a West Ham channel, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that started a West Ham channel, but I get the sense that I get the vibe from you, and I get the vibe from the others too. Don't get me wrong, that you're helping people in this time, and that's a very, very that's an amazing duty at this time. It's an amazing duty, to be able to help each other at this time, and we've all got to stay together. And I remember Neil was on earlier yesterday about his Hammers 11 and talking about this West Ham work group, which I found amazing. I found it was brilliant, and it really brought together for me that feeling of togetherness with West Ham. I'm not saying that togetherness ain't together with any other club in the Football League, but all I'm saying is I think with us it just stands out a bit. It stands out a bit, and I just think. That lunchtime thing you do, and it's going to get bigger, and it's going to get bigger because you're going to get bigger, your channel's going to get bigger, and it's going to help people, and that's needed at this time, but people need to talk, people need to let go, people need to not keep stuff in there, when you got that lump in there, that real brick in your stomach, man, where it's anxiety, you don't want to speak to anyone. Open up and speak to your nearest and dearest. And if you don't want to do that, go to the doctors and do it. Because mental health, I tell you something, if it gets the better of you, then you're gone.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. And I think it's it's one of those things where, we say, I say every episode, my DM's always open. I'm always happy to have a chat. I love a chat. So
I heard you say that the other day, Russ. I'll tell you something now. I heard you say that the other day, Russ, right? On your lunchtime thing. And I'll tell you something, right? That touched a nerve with me when you said that, because I thought to myself, you know something? That's a terrific thing for you to say. A terrific thing for you to say, because there might be some person out there who's a West Ham supporter or supporting anyone who might have listened to that, who's going through a really bad time at the moment mentally with depression or anxiety. And then they might DM you and you might be their saviour. And I thought for you to say that, right, hats off to you, mate. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, thank you. But it's true. And I think... And I think the reason why is because obviously, as I said, my wife, she's a mental health first aider, and so obviously she's gone through all the courses, and she's an HR director, and so she does the same thing. With her work, and obviously, she's got the phone and and people are FaceTiming her, and you're like, there's going to be hundreds of people, thousands of people like that, and that's just one person in the organisation. But it's just important to talk. You know, Bob Hoskins got it right, didn't he, with his BT advert? It's good to talk, and it really is. But it is. And on a lighter note, West Ham are doing all right.
It's very important to talk, mate. We're doing well, mate. We're doing well. I have to say, I have to swallow some humble pie. I have to swallow some humble pie regarding, David Moyes coming back to the football club. I was gobsmacked when he got appointed for the second time, and I was very angry. And I have to say, I have to eat some humble pie because whatever he's doing at the minute, he's turning a few of them into Messi with steroids, which I find amazing, and a lot of them, I'm seeing a togetherness at the football club at the moment. Okay, I'll tell you. I come from the 80s. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right? I'm an 80s boy, and that's it. That's it for me. I'm an 80s West Ham boy, right?
Yeah.
Now, I noticed a real togetherness with the players when Slaven Bilic was at West Ham for the last season at Upton Park. But the current crop at the moment under David Moyes, I am amazed by their togetherness. Okay, it shocked me. It really, really has. They are a group of players that look like they're a bunch of mates, and that says a lot.
Yeah,
that says a lot. That means a lot on the football pitch, and they're doing absolutely amazing. And I have to eat humble pie, and I have to take my hats off to them. They're doing fantastic at the moment.
Yeah, they are, and I've said it before a few times.
I'm proud at the moment to call myself a West Ham supporter.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It is. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. It's weird looking at the first page of the Premier League, and we're on the first page rather than on the second page, down like 18th or 17th. It's nice for a change. But what I like about West Ham at the moment is you can see something being built. Do you know what I mean? You can see building blocks being put in place, and that's something which I can't remember since. Well, maybe even since Big Sam. Do you know what I mean? When he had a vision of what he wanted to do. We might not have agreed about what the vision was, but it was a vision, and it worked, and it got us promoted. And yeah, it wasn't exciting football, but there was a plan. And this seems like Moyes has got a plan. He's got the right backroom staff. He's he's got players in. He's got his formation, which seems to work. And long may it continue. But we'll see what happens when we start letting fans in again. That's the trouble, isn't it? It's like eggs and pot now.
I just think at a minute, like I said, we had that game on Sheffield United on Sunday, and I was 100% convinced that we was going to get 3 points. There was no doubt for me that we wasn't going to get the 3 points, and I've never thought like that for a long time. If West Ham my team away from home. It's just nice. And listen, look, at the end of the day, let's enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, being a West Ham fan, for a fact it ain't going to last. All right. So let's just enjoy it. Let's just enjoy it. See where it takes us. But I'll tell you something, just, going back to the equaliser at White Hart Lane, when Lanzini scored that equaliser and how crazy the players went, that epitomised it for me, how together the players are, And it's just lovely to see, mate. It's lovely to see at the minute. And
it is.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be totally honest with you, Russ. Right? I'm not a fan of football to 2020. I'm not a fan of football in this day and age. All right? I come from the 80s, and I come from a special era of football, which I will explain to you throughout this interview. All right, and why I come from a special era of football. All right. I don't come from the 2020s. I come from the 1980s. I come from 40 years ago, and I'll tell you why it was so special. Yeah, and hopefully it will blow your mind like it blew mine. But at the minute, it's nice,
Yeah. No, it's just nice. It's just nice being a West Ham fan at the moment. That's the best way to describe it. It's, as you said,
of course it is. Of course it is. Let's enjoy it.
Exactly. Let's enjoy it because we've been sort of programmed as a West Ham fan to expect the worst, and even when we win, we're still expecting we'll lose the next game rather than enjoy the fact we've won. It's like that Lanzini goal. When that Lanzini goal went in, everyone's like, "Yeah, brilliant, fantastic." Literally in the same breath, someone said we shouldn't have been 3-0 down after 15 minutes. Who cares? The fact is, we came back and we beat Fulham.
It's what we do.
Exactly.
It's what we do,
right?
It's what we do, and it's what we've always done. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Win, draw, lose, win, draw, lose, win, draw, lose, win, draw, lose. No consistency whatsoever, ever. No. And that's West Ham. Do you know what I mean?
It's be West Ham forever. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are what we are. And we love them for what we are. Yeah.
We do. We love them for what we are. Right. Okay, Peter. Right. So the first question, he says, 25 minutes in, is what? Okay, let's get the story out of the way. Why are you a West Ham fan, Peter? I'm looking forward to this story.
Well, first of all, Russ, I must warn you, I've got a few stories to tell you about West Ham United that may entertain you and your viewers, I'm hoping, okay? But I will tell you the first reason why I support West Ham United, okay? The reason why I support West Ham United is I come from South East London, deep south, as they call in the football factory, Millwall territory, all right? I come from Peckham, yeah? All Millwall, all my mates were Millwall, all my schoolmates were Millwall, everyone was Millwall, yeah? Anyway, it comes to this Friday afternoon in school, and we're all playing football, but I'm not really into football at 10 years old for some reason. I don't know why. My dad's not around much. I'm a one-parent family. My mum looks after me, who comes from Ireland. My sister also looks after me, called Marie. So I'm a one-parent family, all right? So I ain't really into football. I've not been introduced to it. All the kids in the playground are talking about this cup final the next day called West Ham United versus Arsenal in 1980, right? And I haven't got a clue about what they're talking about. I haven't got an absolute clue, right? Yeah. And I hear the whispers, and all the whispers are like, yeah, Arsenal are easily going to win. They're easily going to win. It's going to be a walkover, yeah? And I'm thinking, what is this thing called the FA Cup final, right? I haven't got an absolute clue. So the next day, I turn around to my mum and sister and say, do you know something? Do you fancy watching this thing on TV called the FA Cup final? And they go, well, go on in. So we turn the TV on. Now, this is a bit hard for me to admit, but I will admit it because I'm honest, all right? We turn the TV on, and the FA Cup final is about an hour away from starting. We're watching the build-up. And I said to my mum, Mum, who do you want to win? And she went, I want West Ham to win. And I said to my sister, who do you want to win? She went, West Ham. I said, I'm going to choose Arsenal, right? I want Arsenal to win this, right? Anyway, the match starts. And as you know, West Ham won, all right? So I'm not going to take you through that. Anyway, I'm watching these celebrations. And the one thing that did it for me, okay, people may call me a glory hunter. I'm sure they will. But the one thing that did it for me was the celebrations. And the West Ham players were throwing around a claret and blue teddy bear. And may I, at this moment, show you a photograph of that?
Go for it. Go on. How's it going?
Right?
Yeah.
That's the teddy bear they were throwing around. I looked at them throwing a teddy bear around, and it made me laugh. And I said to my mum, do you know something? That's my team for the rest of my life, West Ham United. And that's how it all started. And that was it. It was as simple as that, throwing a teddy bear around, making me laugh. I'll be honest with you. I was a very lost kid. I had OCD. I didn't know it at the time. I was a very lost kid. I didn't have nothing in my life. I had my Matchbox cars and that. This is emotional for me. It's really emotional for me. This is because my life changed that day. I'll be honest with you, my life changed that day, I had nothing in my life before that. I had my mum and my sister and all that, and my dad occasionally, but now I had a thing called West Ham United, and it was powerful, and that was it. I just in my head, I just remember thinking, who are this club? Where do they play? Who are the players? What are their history? Who's their manager? And I had to find out everything about them. I had to find out everything about the club that had just attracted me, just had gone into my brain like a drug, right? And they saved me. They saved me, because if it wasn't for West Ham United, I'm telling you now, there's no chance I would not be here today. I would not be here today. I was a lost kid that was going the wrong way. And all of a sudden, this club came into my life, and my focus went 100% towards this football club. Because of my OCD, because of my passion, I'm a very passionate person. If I love something, I'll go into it 100%. And believe me, I went into the hours 100%. And, it was from there on in, it was like having an arm around your shoulder, a claret and blue arm around your shoulder saying, we're West Ham. You don't know us yet, but we're going to take care of you. Do you know that? And we're going to build you as a man. and bloody hell they did. It was just unbelievable. And the really sad thing for me at the time was there was a lot of hooliganism at the game, you know, in the game. And my mum, you know, she was a very, very soft-hearted Irish woman who loved her son, being me, very much. And she didn't want me to go anywhere near West Ham because of the hooliganism. She said, if you want to go to football, you can only go Crystal Palace, you know. And I thought, Palace, you're having a laugh, yeah? We'll go Palace. So I had to go Palace, right? And it took 2 years, right? I tell you what, 27th of March, 1982. I'll give you the date. Hold on. There it is. I'm sure it is. 27th of March, 1982. I've still got the programme up there, right? Yeah. West Ham versus Nottingham Forest, Upton Park, 1982, right? She finally gave me permission to go with me mate, right? We went down there to Upton Park, me and my mate Steve, all right? And I'll never forget it till the day I die, right? Walking along the old South Bank, the turnstiles had not opened. There were West Ham skinheads sitting on the floor, all right? And me and my friend were terrified, right? Course, we went to buy a burger. We went to buy a burger on the corner of Castle Street and Green Street, right? And we said to this very kind lady who served us the burger, we turned around and said to her, can you tell us the safest place in the ground to be? Because we've never been to West Ham before. And this is our first visit. She went, hold on a minute. And her husband was there, right? And her husband turned around and said to us, I'll work in the chicken run as a turnstile operator. Come to my turnstile at a certain time. He told us the turnstile number and I'll sort you out. And we went there and he let us in for free. And we got in the chicken run and we seen the match. We lost 1-0. All right, fair enough. We lost 1-0. But what an introduction to West Ham. Talk about looking after your own. Talk about looking after people. Talk about solidarity, you know. You know, we didn't pay a penny to get in that day, you know. Didn't pay a penny. And it was like, we'll look after you. Come into our side of the ground. I'm a turnstile operator. Yeah, he shouldn't have done it. Fair enough. And he let us in and he looked after us and his wife did. And we got in the ground. And that was a start of the most amazing, amazing thing of my life. I'm telling you now. And I'll go on to it in other ways in a minute. But that was special. That was special. Yeah. Walking onto the chicken run for the first time in your life and for 2 years dreaming about it. And finally seeing that green pitch. Not only seeing that green pitch, but watching the West Ham players warm up. I am 20 feet away from Trevor Brooking. My knees are shaking. There is Billy Bonds with his long hair. I cannot believe I'm here. Do you know what I mean? This is special. This is like all I've ever wanted in my life. And that was it. It was a drug that has always stayed with me, you know? It was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I just can't explain it to you. The smells, the sound, the song, the skill. West Ham, Upton Park was always about singing the away opposition. The away opposition could never come to us and out-sing us. Are you joking? No chance. It would start at 2:30, 2 o'clock. We would out-sing you and you would go home with your tail between your legs. We were West Ham and you weren't going to beat us.
Yeah. And it's like, it's such a sensory thing, isn't it? It is the smells, isn't it? That's the thing I can't, it's like the other day, I walked past one of those cheap burger places and I just got a whiff and it took me straight back to Green Street and outside Ken's Cafe. Honestly, it's that like whatever meat they were cooking, but it was like, oh my God, it's really weird, isn't it? Just how, and the smell of cut grass, that always gets me as well. Even more
seriously, so. The smells, right? The smells can really, really bring back something, right? My mum died 6 years ago, and my wife happened to buy a perfume the other day that my mum used to have, and I didn't know, you know, that she bought. And wow, that's my mum, you know what I mean? And it's like West Ham, the burgers, the you know, it was everything about it. It was the atmosphere. It was just something so special.
Yeah,
it was so special. It got into your heart. It got into your heart, you know, and I mean this with the utmost of respect. I really, really do mean this with the utmost of respect for the younger fans. But you're never going to know that. You're never going to know what we experienced. You're never going to know the fact that we could walk up to any player and have a chat with them, not just get their autograph, have a chat with them, you know. We could speak to them about anything we wanted to. It was a family. It was, man, it was so special. Seriously, in a minute, you know, I don't want to bore you, but I'm going to give you a quick spin around my West Ham room here. And my West Ham room is just covered in all of the memorabilia that are my memories. And I call it my comfort blanket. I call it my comfort blanket.
I get that. Yeah.
Because it goes back to, you know, it takes me back to happy times when I was a kid, you know.
Yeah.
It was great times, Russ. I tell you now, mate.
And it's right. It's sort of, but it's and that's something that's come through quite a lot when I interview people. I think we've done over like 230 or something like that. And it's the, and obviously we talk about memories, we talk about experiences, individual experiences with players, meeting players, talking to players, and things like that. And that, I think it's indicative of modern football that you don't get that association with players that you did back in the 80s, even the 90s. You know what I mean?
Impossible.
You know, like
impossible. You can't get. You can't look in my day, right? In my day, Trevor Brooking knew me at one point. He knew me, right? I mean, there was one point in 1980, I think it was 82. He had a hamstring injury and he was playing for the reserves. So I used to go to West Ham reserves on a Saturday at Upton Park, and then West Ham home matches on next Saturday. So obviously he was playing in the reserves. So I used to meet him every Saturday, and he knew me. He used to sign birthday cards for my mum, you know, and like, you know, they knew you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't want to spoil it for the younger generation now, but you're never going to know what you didn't have. I mean, we had some special times, mate. We could meet any player when we wanted. And I know it's the same probably for all football clubs throughout the Football League, but don't tell me for a moment that I've lived the game due to, you know, West Ham for me is not just a club. West Ham for me is personal. It's very personal. I'll go on to in a moment, but you know, we lived it in the right time. We lived it in the right time when the players were just, you know, they were ours. We were family. We were all one. There was not one tier and another tier. This is the players and this is the fans. No. We were all like this. We were all like this, and we were all in it together, which I'll tell you what, when you go back to the 80s atmosphere at Upton Park, and I'm sure it was the 70s and the 60s and the 50s and the 40s, etc., the same, that because we knew we were all one, we were all family, we knew the players. So when they came out on the pitch, it was like family. That's where the ferocity came from. That's where the ferocity of the fans and the passion came from. Do you know what I mean? You know, and that's what it was. And that's why it was so crazy, you know?
Yeah. I know.
Russ, give me 2 seconds, mate. Can you give me 2 seconds, Russ? Can you give me 2 seconds?
Of course I can.
Sorry, mate. Let me just sort of dog out.
Don't worry. While Pete sorts his dog out, make sure you keep an eye out. We do some those are charity stuff soon. Keep an eye out for them, for the new Recorder Toy Appeal. So there should be some stuff coming out in the next week or so. So make sure you keep an eye at that across all social media, across all YouTubers and content creators. There'll be some stuff coming out about how you guys can donate money to the new Recorder Toy Appeal, and we can start getting some toys for the little kids of Newham, guys who are not going to get anything. And you know me, big Christmas fan, so anything that is Christmas related and helps people out, it's a double whammy for me. So we've got some really cool game show episodes that are going to be coming out because of that as well, part of a stream, I think. And we've got one which is really good. So keep an eye out for that, because that's going to be really fun. We might even talk about that in a minute. So yeah. Oh, don't be silly. I've just been promoting our new charity thing we got coming out, so it's all right.
No problem. If that can help you, that's great, mate.
Yeah, that's that. But and I know what you mean about being togetherness, because obviously I've been extremely fortunate to interview a lot of ex-players on this channel, and without singling, I might single some out.
The players you've interviewed, mate, is amazing.
Yeah, but they're all like your mate. Do you know what I mean? Even they're all so warm and friendly, and even, I mean, you know, a classic example. I was just talking about the charity stuff, and actually we've got. I think it's going to be maybe the week after. I think it's the 12th. I think we're doing something. I don't know exactly, but I did one of my game shows, and I've got on the game show. I think it's the first time ever there's been this. So I do my silly game shows, but we do Wheel of Fortune, and it's got Trevor Sinclair, Jimmy Walker, Steve Jones, and Kevin Keane as the contestants, and it was brilliant, and it was so funny. And they were all, and then literally the next day, I got 3 texts from other players, ex-players, and said, "Oh, can I do one now?" So we're going to try and do a couple for the stream, but they just give their time, and they still give their time, and it's lovely. But it's
like
always
a family.
Say
to people now, like I will say to people now, when I used to when you get an autograph from an 80s player, you get an autograph from an 80s player, and they say thank you. It's unbelievable. They sign what you want them to sign. Say thank you. When you get an autograph from a player now, they sign it with just disgust. You know, it's like, oh my god, get away from you, street. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, but. I've got a few stories I want to tell you, so I want to get through them if I can. Because I don't want to keep
in, Pete. Go in. Nice, right?
Settle in. I don't want to keep you all night, because I know you got kids and all that, so I don't want to keep you, all right? So what I'm going to start with, if that's all right with you, is Leicester City away, all right? Anyway, right, Leicester City away, early 1990s. We go there. We're in Division 2 at the time. We got relegated, and anyway, we're in Division 2. We were at Filbert Street, me and my mate Darren Sherwood, who I love to bits. I know he's going to be watching this. Darren Sherwood, he's a lovely, lovely man. Goes West Ham home and away. Really, really good friend of mine, and I love him. Anyway, we're at the Grand, Filbert Street. The West Ham coach turns up. They get off with a kit. Eddie Gillam comes out with a kit. For some reason, he's got no one to help him, right? So he looks at me and my mate Darren and says, "Can you help us take this into the Grand?" And we was like, "What? Are you having a laugh? Can we help you? We'd pay you money to help you, right?" So we're wheeling this kit into the Grand, right? It was unbelievable, right? It was just like, are you having a laugh? We're getting to go into the same dressing room West Ham are going to be in. And anyway, we did it, and it was fantastic, etc. You know, it was just a brilliant, brilliant day to just do that, you know, and that was the way football was back then. Can you imagine that happening now with all the security? You know, that's the day I come from, and you know that was only the early 90s. Another one, I said, like, you know, I used to be a football photographer. I blagged it, and I blagged it completely. I was a sales rep at the time. I was selling industrial cable, which I hated with a passion. I always wanted to be a footballer. Never got the chance to. I had trials at Torquay United. I got to play for Dulwich Hamlet. And I never got to be a footballer, obviously. And I was 29 years old. And my wife said to me, "What do you want for your 30th birthday?" And I said, "Do you know something? I'd like a camera. I've never had a decent camera before, just a normal camera, because I used to have them throwaway cameras." And she got me this camera. And I got into photography. And 3 months later, I was photographing football matches. I just blagged it, absolutely blagged it. And within 4 years, I was at Champions League level, right? So I'd gone from nothing to Champions League level. And you've got to go through the football leagues. You've got to go non-league, football league, Premier League, Champions League, right? And I've done the whole lot in 4 years, right? It was like promotion. And it was just absolutely amazing. And I remember one night, West Ham were playing at the Masters football. It used to be on Sky 15 years ago. 14 years ago, McAvenny, Cott, my heroes, and I got a press pass to go there, and my knees were shaking, right? My knees were shaking because I don't take things for granted, right? McAvenny and Cotty, and I'm going to get the chance to photograph them. And because it was a tight little environment, the Masters, I think it was a London arena, I was in the dugout with the players, right? So anyway, the West Ham players were warming up, right, out on the pitch. And I thought, you know something? I'm just going to walk out onto the pitch and take pen pics of each West Ham player, right? And I did it, right? And I walked back to the dugout thinking, so proud of myself. How brilliant was I just there, right? Looked in the camera. There's no film in the camera, is there? I forgot to film because I was so excited, right? So I had to go back and do it all again. And again, what are you doing? You just done it. I go, oh, no, it was a technical problem with the camera. And I blagged it again. And it was just brilliant memories, brilliant memories. I remember in the 90s going to a West Ham home match, right? And I lived in South London. So I used to get the train from Forest Hill to New Cross Gate, then the East London line from New Cross Gate to Whitechapel, then the East up district line to Upton Park. Anyway, I got on the train at Forest Hill, right? And these 5 beefy, and I'm talking beefy blokes surround me on the train, right? They all sit around me, right? So anyway, turns out they're Millwall, right? They're all about 45, 50 with noses about there, right? I'm only 18 at the time, right? And at the time, West Ham had a right crappy tracksuit. We had the worst tracksuit out. It was disgusting, right? So I refused to buy it. So what I did was I bought the Aston Villa tracksuit, which was made by Hummel, right?
Yeah.
And Aston Villa used to produce a tracksuit, but without the badge. So they used to give you the badge, but you could sew the badge on. So I obviously didn't sew the badge on. For me, it was just like it was claret and blue, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, they all sat around me. And they said, like, "You're West Ham, aren't you?" And I went, no, I'm not West Ham. I'm Villa. They went, no, you're definitely West Ham. What are you doing in London with a tracksuit on like that, with claret and blue and all that? I went, I promise you, I'm definitely Villa, right? And back then, I knew all the players, every single player, because I memorised it. I was football crazy. And I went, I'm definitely Villa. And they went, you ain't Villa at all. And I think that day, Millwall were playing Leicester away and we was at home. And these blokes looked at me and they went, do you know something? We're going to kidnap you and we're going to take you to Leicester away in that tracksuit in the Millwall away end, right? Yeah, that's what we're going to do with you, right? You ain't going nowhere, right? And I was like, Jesus Christ, oh my God, do you know what I mean? And in the end, they let me off. They let me go at New Cross Gate, just laughing. They were just having a laugh at me, do you know what I mean? And that's why, I know it's going to sound strange to a lot of West Ham fans, but I've got a lot of respect for Millwall fans, you know? I come from the area. My mates were Millwall fans. I was the only West Ham fan. And I remember a day back in the 90s when I was at New Cross Gate train station and I messed up my timings big time. I had the West Ham home shirt on, right? The West Ham home shirt on, and a train came into New Cross Gate with about 500 Millwall on, right? And I was the only West Ham fan standing on that platform, and 500 Millwall fans got off, and I thought I was dead, right? Dead, yeah? And all of them got off, and not one of them lay a hand on me. All they said was, what you doing here, you West Ham mug? And I got a few other verbals and all that, but no one lay a hand on me. Yeah. These 3 teeth here are all false because of Newcastle United away. Because me and my mate got done by untold Newcastle. That's the difference between Northerners and Southerners. Do you know what I mean? It's like the Millwall won't do you if there's one of you. Millwall will do you if there's 30 of you. And same with West Ham. Like back in the day, I'm talking about, yeah. But like up north, they'll do you if there's one of you. You know, and it was like that was pure respect from Millwall. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh my God, I thought I was going to die that day. I really, honestly did. Crazy day, but I was lucky. I'm still here to tell the tale. Yeah, you know, still here.
Exactly.
But there's lots of stories. I mean, like I said, you know, it was simply an amazing journey with West Ham. It really was. No matter what happened, Russ, it was very, very special. It saved my life. This isn't just a football club for me, but it's a medicine. It's a prescription. I need West Ham in my life. And it saved my life. You know, whatever happened, I had to beg, steal, or borrow to go to West Ham. And I'll tell you what it was, Russ. If I couldn't get to a West Ham match, I'll be honest with you, it was like 2-timing my girlfriend. It was like I was being dishonest. I had to be there. Yeah. And I'll give you an example. We played Bradford away one day in the early 90s when we got relegated. And we played Bradford City away, and I could not, for the life of me, get the money together to get to this game. Bradford City away at Valley Parade. And all of a sudden at midday, I finally got the money together to get to the ground. And I got to the train station, and I thought to myself, you know something? I'm going to get to Bradford, and I'm only going to get there for half time. You know, that's all I'm going to get there for is half time. And I thought, but you got to go for it, Pete, because that's your club, and at least you've been there for 45 minutes. And I got up to Bradford. I got a taxi to Valley Parade. I got in for the second half, and Jimmy Quinn scored a 90th minute winner for Bradford City, and we lost 2-1. After 45 minutes of being in Bradford, I got back on the train, back to London, and that was it. Do you know what I mean? That was a login back then. You know, that was how powerful that login was back then. 1989, Liverpool away. We lost 5-1 and got relegated. You know, at the 88-89 season. And I was everywhere that game. If West Ham played the Moon away on a Tuesday night, I'd be on the Moon on the Tuesday night. Do you know what I mean? And you know, Liverpool away that night, we had to win. We didn't. We lost 5-1. Leroy Rossini scored for us, And I'll tell you the story quickly. I was at Euston Station, getting the football special, the West Ham special, up to Lime Street. I didn't have a ticket for the West Ham end. I missed out that much from getting a ticket from a tap at Euston train station, and someone else got it before me. I stood up all the way on the train to Lime Street. There was no seating because it was full up with West Ham fans. I stood up all the way, got to Lime Street, got to Liverpool, didn't get in the ground, listened to the game outside Stanley Park on a transistor radio. We got relegated 5-1 into Division 2 at the time. Went back to Lime Street, couldn't get a bloody seat again, stood up all the way on the train back to back to London. Yeah. I remember getting back to London, and I'll never forget it. I remember getting to Victoria. It was like early hours of the morning. I was all on my own trying to get back to South London, and I knew it was the end of an era. We'd been relegated and it was finished, and a few days later, the worst thing happened to our football club that ever happened is when our football club changed forever, and that was when John Lyle was sacked, and that was when our football club changed forever,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was great days when I lived it. There was no racism towards me. As you can see from my name, it's Singh, S-I-N-G-H. It comes from an Indian origin. My mum is Irish. My dad's South American. The Indian thing comes from generations ago. My relations were racist towards me. Everybody was racist towards me. I suffered racism all my life. I still suffer racism now. But I'll tell you something, Russ, as we sit here now, I support that club for 40 years, West Ham United Football Club. Upton Park, Claret and Blue. Never once have I received racism from West Ham United Football Club and their beautiful, beautiful fans. Never once. My own auntie and uncles were racist towards me. West Ham United Football Club, their fans put their arms around my back and looked after me from a young age, mate. That is a powerful football club, West Ham United Football Club. Powerful,
Fantastic. Yeah, it's great when you hear things like that, because it's that sort of that time of the 80s where that everyone assumed it was rife, but as you said, you never really had anything at all, which is just amazing. And I think it's just it's lovely to hear your stories, Peter, because there's real passion, obviously, and for me, the lengths you go, some people went to go to the football, and I think I take it a bit too blasé about it, and actually for some people it's their life, and that's what's important about this channel, because for different people West Ham means different things, and for you it's such a personal connection, and I think that's what makes it such a powerful chat, because it is so much of a connection. And whatever's going on in the world, the fact is, as long as Claret and Blue, as long as the boys are still there, in whatever disguise, whatever shirt they wear, whatever badge they've got on, that's still what's important to so many people.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you a quick example of what I'm talking about when it comes to the 1980s and loyalty, right? And I'm going to give you a statistic now that's going to probably blow your mind, right? And I'll give you a statistic now here, right? My first game was against Nottingham Forest, 1982 at Upton Park, okay? It was 1982, right?
Yeah.
There was obviously 11 players that started that game for West Ham United, right? That was the first time I ever got the chance to watch West Ham live, right? We lost 1-0 against Nottingham Forest, and those 11 players that started for West Ham that day, right? Collectively, believe it or not, they played 4,313 times for West Ham. Those are players, right? Our latest game against Sheffield United on Sunday, where we won 1-0, okay, with a Haller goal, the 11 players that started have collected 180 games for West Ham. And that shows you the level of loyalty I'm talking about, where I come from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And but also it shows you what's indicative of modern football now, isn't it? It's like it's like within if you get 2 years, 3 years out of a player now, they're put into a great bracket. Do you know what I mean? You've done well for 3 years to get a player for 3 years. And then back in the day, if they hadn't played more than, we've interviewed like Tony Gale, and every year Tony Gale was at West Ham bar 1 year was a testimonial year. And it's true. Yeah, it's true. And that's why you've got a strong connection.
Yeah. that's what created the loyalty back then. That's where the immense loyalty came from. Do you know what I mean? It was just, you know, it wasn't a question of like, right, the season's ended and who's going to play for us next year. It was like the season's ended and we know you're going to play for us next year, so we're all going to be together as a family, and that's the end of it. Do you know what I mean? It was like, you know, they were seriously unbelievable days. And like I said to you earlier, it's just going to be sad that the other supporters now, that you have a younger generation, are never going to witness that level of loyalty, and they're always going to sort of like know football as it is today. You know, and you know that's you know, the way it is. But I just wanted to quickly tell you about another quick story, a funny story that happened back in the 80s. Me and my you know, one of my first girlfriends, long time ago, many years ago, and her brother went to a West Ham home match at Upton Park. I forget who it was against, and we was getting autographs after the match outside the old West Stand. This was before the West Stand got redeveloped. So it was the old West Stand. Anyway, we were staying there pretty late to try and get all the autographs, and all, you know, the other supporters filtered away, and we happened to sneak inside the players' lounge, right?
Yeah.
Because the security wasn't there them days. Anyway, I remember saying to my girlfriend, look, if anyone asks us, we're West Ham players' children, or we are their children, all right? So, you know, no problem whatsoever. We're in the players' lounge now, we're their children. And it was just, I was thinking about it the other day, and it was just like the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. It was like, how did we do it? And we was just going through door after door after door. And after a while, we found ourselves on the West Stand upper tier, right?
Yeah.
By the time we found ourselves on the West Stand upper tier, the ground had been closed completely. Everybody had gone home. The ground was empty. We were the only people in the ground, right? Locked in the ground, right? There were those meat pies in the West Stand. We had a few of them to fill us up.
Yeah.
And we thought, how are we going to get to the ground? And we got down to the West Stand, the lower part of the stand, the lower concourse, and we climbed over the fencing. But not before, I'll admit, I hope West Ham don't nick me now, but I did nick a West Ham corner flag that day, right? So I've nicked the West Ham corner flag. And you know, like I said, it was just amazing days, you know, travelling home on the tube with a West Ham corner flag after getting locked in the ground. You know, it was just very, very special days, and they were very, very special people at the club from top to bottom. And I was blessed and honoured to be part of West Ham United Club, and it will always stay with me forever. And I always say to people that know me, you know, I am a product of my mum and dad, but I'm a heavy product of West Ham United Football Club, because they had a massive influence on my life. And, you know, I had this, I'm not going to be afraid to say it, I never had a dad when I was growing up. He wasn't about. So I had imaginary dads, and my imaginary dads were three imaginary dads. One was John Lyle, the other was Trevor Brooking, and the other one was Billy Bonds. And in my head, I worked out they were my dads, and I thought, right, they're all three of them are my dads, and I've got to take the best out of all three of them to make me the best human being I can be in the future. And they were my future dads, and they were just like, you know, the best influences that anybody could have in their life, you know.
Sure. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense, man. So let's talk about your Hammers 11.
Let's go, mate. How far are we into it? I'm sorry for keeping you up tonight.
Oh, don't be silly. It's Friday tomorrow. God, the daughter's in bed. Don't be silly. England, no, mate. I love Pete. I love it, and people love to hear from that. I think that's why the channel does well.
But I don't want to feel like I'm boring people to talk a lot, you know.
No, because it's not. Because it's memories. It's memories, man. And I think with memories,
my memories are so special to me, Russ. They're all I've got now, because when you suffer from anxiety and depression, all I can go back to, mate, you know.
Exactly, and this is a way of and this is a way of recording them, man. This is a way of sharing them, you know, in a it's a new way of sharing them, isn't it? Putting it into doing it as a YouTube video. But anyway, Hammers 11. So it's the whole point. I think
you know what you do. Brilliant.
Good. I'm glad you enjoy it. I enjoy it, man. Anyway, the only rule with the Hammers 11 is you have to be alive to have seen them play. That's the only rule. You can pick whoever you want, whatever criteria you want.
Russ, before we start Hammers 11, can I show you something?
Go for it.
Right, wait there. Watch this, right?
Okay. I love this. This is fun.
Russ ain't going to believe it. Russ is not going to believe this. Right, Russ, if I showed you this, If I showed you this, what would you think it is?
It's a brick of some kind.
Right. Now, Russ, have you seen the Marks and Spencer's adverts?
Which one? Yeah, I've seen Marks. Yeah, I've seen Marks and
Let me
Spencer's
explain
adverts. Yeah,
something to you. No, Russ, calm down. Let me explain something to you. This is a brick, all right? This is a brick, right?
Yeah.
But it ain't any old brick. It ain't any old brick, right? I'll tell you what you're looking at here, right? This brick, I am a historian. I love history. I love London. I love East London history. I love London history.
Mm.
A while back, a few years ago, just before they knocked the ground down completely, Upton Park, because that to me was a criminal offence to knock Upton Park down, all right? Because it's my cathedral, all right? I didn't want to go from there. It's my cathedral.
Yeah.
Okay. I visited Upton Park before they knocked it down, all right? And I walked down Green Street, and on my left-hand side, before I got to the ground, just before I got to the ground, on the outskirts of the ground, there was some archaeologists, right? And what they were doing was they was unearthing the actual footings of Anne Boleyn House, all right? The original Green Street house, Anne Boleyn House, right? Now, me being a London fanatic and a historian, etc., I was going to go back there that night, climb over the fence, and steal a brick, all right? Because I wanted a Tudor brick from the original house from the 1500s that was in Green Street, all right?
Yeah.
I got talking to an archaeologist, and I said, look, I'm a massive West Ham fan. Can you please just give me one of those bricks? Because they were doing an archaeological, dig to find out where the actual foundations of Anne Boleyn House was on Green Street, all right? Just before they built the new flats on Upton Park, where they knocked it down. Yeah. And he gave me this brick. Now, you've got to remember, Russ, this brick in my hand, right? Yeah, has been at Upton Park since the 1500s, right?
Wow.
It has seen every single game that West Ham played there, and it now stands in my hand. Now, it may not be the same thing for your viewers as it is for me, but when I got this brick from that archaeologist, when he kindly gave it to me, I rang my wife, right? And she thought I'd won the lottery. She went, Peter, what on earth is going on, man? Why are you so happy, yeah? I said, you ain't going to believe it. I met a guy on Green Street and he gave me a brick, right? She said, a brick. I said, yeah, but it's not any normal brick. This is like from Tudor times, from Upton Park. Do you know what I mean? And there it is before you. That is Brilliant. An Upton Park Tudor brick from Anne Boleyn House. So I apologise for prolonging
I love it. I love it. No, it's brilliant. It's phenomenal. That's phenomenal, man. Right, okay. That's brilliant. Let's go. Right, who's going to be in goal? Start.
Phil Parks.
Who's going to be in goal? Phil Parks.
Phil Parks. We're going to get through pretty quickly, so no problem whatsoever. It's got to be Phil Parks. No problem whatsoever. Absolute legend. Beautiful person. Beautiful human being. Absolute wonderful goalkeeper. Should have played for England more. He was just brilliant. He was just a lovely person, an absolute gent to meet, which I met on numerous occasions. Fantastic player.
Yeah, he's he's just lovely, isn't he? He's just a lovely bloke.
I mean,
his family are lovely as well.
You see Phil Parks today looks exactly the same as he did 40 years ago. It's unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? He's like, changed a bit, But what's a lovely human being. A very humble man. A very, very humble man. And I've got a lot of respect for famous people who stay humble. If you become famous, you must stay humble. That's the key, Yeah. Don't get Billy Big Bollocks. Stay humble. No. Remember where you come from. Do you know what I mean?
Very true. Right. Okay. Parks.
So Phil Parks is my goalkeeper with that.
All right. You go through the team as you want to, Peter. Go on. I'll give you carte blanche. You go through it as you want to, man.
Okay. On the left side, I have Frank Lampard Senior. Okay. I must have Frank Lampard Senior. He was a tremendous servant for the club. The amount of times he played for the club, etc. I was thinking about Julian Dix, but the only thing that scarred me from putting Julian Dix in the side is that Billy Bonds is my God. He is my God. He is someone I pray to every night. And I know it may not sit well with many Hammers fans, but I personally believe Julian Dix disrespected Billy Bonds when he played for that team, because he argued with him a lot, and that don't sit well with me. You don't argue with a God. If a God tells you to do something, you do it, you know. So I'm going to leave it at that. People know what I'm talking about. And Julian Dix was a brilliant servant for West Ham United. He was a brilliant servant, but don't argue with the God, you know. He was a legend, Billy Bonds. So Frank Lampard Senior is going in the left side. On the right side, we got Ray Stewart, obviously. The best penalty taker I've ever seen. One of the nicest players you could ever meet. He was just an absolutely unbelievable player. I can sit here now and I can explain to you him taking a penalty. He'll put the ball on the spot. He will then pull his two socks up to make sure they're tight up on it, just underneath his knees. He will then tap the ground twice. He will walk back, but the walk must be from his toes to his heel. It's that kind of a walk. Then when he gets back about 12 yards with his right foot, he's going to stump the ground twice like a donkey or a bull. And then he's going to run towards that goal and he's putting the ball in the back of the net. End of, you know. That man was a legend. He was a beautiful, beautiful human being. John Lyall treated him like a father. He lived with John Lyall for quite a while, you know, when he first came down from Scotland. And Ray Stewart is my right back, without a doubt.
Yeah, you're right.
In the centre, I've got Alvin Martin, absolute legend. Alvin Martin was a quality player. It wasn't just like, you know, I always remember that photograph of Alvin Martin playing at Highbury with the white Avco Trust away shirt on with all the blood down his shirt, you know. And he was a battler, but he could play. He could play. And the thing about Alvin was he was an adopted Cockney. You know, we loved him.
Yeah.
And the thing about Alvin was Alvin Martin understood us. He understood the passion, you know. There's a quote, and I should have written it down for tonight's interview, but there's a quote he said which really hit my heart. I've got 20 volumes of scrapbooks down there about Upton Park that I've made up since we left the bowling ground for my own memories. There's 20 books with over 10,000 photographs in it, and one of his is in there, and it's about, you know, West Ham supporters and their passion and that. But Alvin Martin is a legend. He's an adopted Cockney, a beautiful footballer, and a beautiful human being. Next to him goes Tony Gell, an absolutely Rolls Royce of a central defender. Tony Gell was one of those players where when he got the ball, when I used to go to West Ham home and away, you knew he was not going to lose it. He was going to pass to a West Ham player. Absolute legend. Going back to the famous semi-final against Nottingham Forest at Villa Park, where we lost 4-0 down to Keith Hackett. Keith Hackett has virtually since apologised to Tony Gell because of that, because he felt he was made a scapegoat because of the FA, because of the ruling. Okay, so let's get that right. Anyway, that day for me, Russ, was such a powerful day. West Ham United 0, Nottingham Forest 4. I've got that video in my collection. I bought that video, West Ham United 0, Nottingham Forest 4, on a VHS tape. The reason why I bought it was because of us, our fans that were there that day, including me, that gave the most unbelievable support of a football team I've ever seen in my life. Billy Bonds, Claret Blue Army. And it never stopped. It never stopped. I remember being in our end and shouting at the fans, carry on, like everyone else was. Those were the days, mate, you know. And I don't look at that match because of the score. I look at that match because of that tune. Billy Bonds, Claret Blue Army, 4-0 down. And looking back on that, there was only one bloke at the end of that match, you know that. When they done the old, like, you know, looking back on the goals and all that, Bob Wilson, there was only one bloke that had the decency to say, hold on a minute. Did you see those West Ham fans and how great they were? And that was Neil Warnock. And I've always had respect for Neil Warnock since then. He sat there and he said, do you know something? He said, did you just hear those West Ham fans there? He said they were 4-0 down and they didn't shut up. Billy Bonds, you know, Claret Blue Army. Those special days, you know. So Tony Gell goes in there without a shadow of a doubt. I must try and show you. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to quickly show you a glimpse. Go on, then. Tony Gell's free kick against Liverpool.
When we he told me about that a few times. I
bet he did. I was there that night when we beat them 4-1 Liverpool. And on the way out from Upton Park, I must admit, I did swipe the advertisement for the game. And there it is there. I'm going to try and get it for you on camera. If you look there, can you see West Ham v Liverpool?
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the original poster.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That is.
That's the original poster from that night. That is. There you go. So that's Tony Gell. On the right hand side, I've got Mark Ward. Mark Ward, again, an absolute legend. All right, an absolute legend. He came from Oldham. We were told he was a baker at one point before he played for Oldham, and he was a wonderful player. He had a heart of a lion, and he would take on absolutely anybody. You know, he would eat Stuart Pearce. He would look at Stuart Pearce and eat him. All right, and he was half Stuart Pearce's size, but Mark Ward had this heart. You know, he had this heart. He would eat Stuart Pearce. You know, and a brilliant player. He was playing in one of the matches. I don't know if you're, maybe too young, but when we got relegated in 1988-89, we went on a terrific run just before we got beat by Liverpool 5-1 away, which I was talking to you about a while back. We went to Newcastle a few weeks before that on a night game.
Sure.
And we had to win. And I took half day off work, and I got the coach from Victoria to Newcastle. Went to the match, met John Lyle before the match as the coach pulled up, spoke to John Lyle. I said, John, we're going to do this. You know we're going to do this, don't you? You know we're going to win this match. And he went, we're going to do all we can, son, all we can. We won the match, all right? This is at St. James's Park. Afterwards, I don't know what it was at the time. I must have had no brains or whatever, but I had this West Ham scarf on, St. James's Park, Newcastle away in the 80s, yeah? Not expecting a kick-in. Oh, God must have been with me that night. After the match, I ran around to where the players were coming out, met all the players, congratulated them. They got on the coach. John Lyle got on the coach, and obviously Mark Ward did. And you know something? One of the proudest moments for me as a West Ham United football fan is I was only a West Ham supporter there that night, waiting for them to get on the coach at St. James's Park night game. Yeah. And they got on the coach. And as the coach drove off, I stood there in my West Ham scarf and I just clapped. And you know what happened? The rest of the team on the bus clapped me back. And I will look back on that as one of my most precious ever moments. They clapped me back. It was like, are you joking? They're clapping me, and it was special. So Mark Ward goes on the right. Alan Devonshire goes on the left. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. I'll tell you what it was with Alan Devonshire, an absolutely fantastic player, fantastic person, down to earth, humble, absolute class. I'll tell you what it is with him. If you look it up, Russ, we beat Watford away. I think it was 3-2 in 1987. I think it was a cup match at Vicarage Road, right?
Sure.
Alan Devonshire played. And for anyone who tells me that Alan Devonshire wasn't a class player, look at 1987, Watford 2, West Ham United 3. He played in that match and he set up one of the goals. It was a rainy night, I think, and he played a ball. I forget who it is to. I can't remember now off the top of my head. But he played this ball down the line so strong, but he played it with backspin, right? So every player thought that ball's going out. And all of a sudden, the ball started coming back to the player he passed it to, who he passed on, and the other player scored. Alan Devonshire was Rolls Royce. He was just quality, beautiful, beautiful player, and just a wonderful, wonderful human being, I remember in the days of the bond scheme, and he was helping out West Ham supporters outside who were talking to him about how we can stop the bond scheme and all that. And he was genuinely concerned, And he was a lovely, lovely man, Alan Devonshire. And, absolutely wonderful. Next to him, I put Trevor Brooking. Trevor Brooking obviously is a god for me. Love Trevor Brooking with a passion. If you ever want to look at what Trevor Brooking could do with a football, you got to remember, Trevor Brooking could beat a player without touching the ball. Trevor Brooking had an amazing way of letting the ball run. He could let the ball run and beat a player. I've never seen a player do it since, ever. He was the master at letting the ball run and beating a player. Slicing the defence in half like he did against Queen's Park Rangers in 1983 when he set up Tony Cotty against Queen's Park Rangers. Watch that on YouTube if you want to. And you watch Trevor Brooking slice that QPR defence in half. Trevor Brooking did that. Wonderful player. Like I said, I used to meet him every week. I was obsessed with the fella. I'll never forget the first time I seen him in the flesh. I was like, my knees were shaking. I'll give you a quick story about Trevor that you might find amusing. I used to follow him everywhere, and I loved him with a passion. I looked up to him like a dad. And one day in the 80s, he was playing in a charity match. It was somewhere in Hertfordshire, and I was a young boy. I was only 13, and my mum let me go, and I made my way there on my own. And I forget who it was against, but it was a charity match. And I had to, as always, get Trevor Brooking's autograph after the match. It was a mission of mine. I had to meet my imaginary dad. Anyway, the match finished, and I couldn't find Trevor anywhere. And this is a true story, and I'll show it to you in a minute. I asked the steward, I said, do you know where Trevor Brooking is? And he went, he's in the bar having a pint. I went, all right, fair enough. He said, but you're not allowed in there. You're too young. I went, all right, fair enough. Anyway, he walked off, and I sneaked into the bar. And there was Trevor Brooking at the bar having a pint. Have a guess who was either side of him?
Oh, I have no idea. Why do you tell me, Pete?
Bobby Moore and Martin Peters.
Wow.
Bobby Moore and Martin Peters. I went up to Trevor Brooking. I got Trevor's autograph, as I always did. I knew Bobby was going to be there that day. All right. But you must remember, I'm not of that age. So no, Bobby wasn't the fanatical thing that he is to other people of an older generation.
Yeah.
Trevor Brooking was my thing, not Bobby Moore. But I knew Bobby Moore was special. So that's why I brought along a picture of Bobby Moore. In case I seen him, I could get him to sign it. So Trevor signed his picture for me, and Bobby signed his picture for me. And if you don't mind, I don't want to keep you too long, so I know you're busy. No. Do you mind if I show you that?
Of course. Love a bit of show and tell.
I'll show you the picture. If you can see it on the actual camera itself. It's one of my most treasured possessions. And here it is. I framed it when I was a kid. And I'll try and show it to you as best I can. I don't know if you can see it because of the light, but his signature is just there.
Wow.
And Bobby signed that for me as he was standing next to Trevor Brooking having a pint of lager, and Martin Peters on the other side. And it's stories like that just
they stay with you, don't they?
Stay with you, and they connect you to the club. They really do. So anyway, that's Trevor Brooking there. Next to Trevor Brooking, I'm going for my ultimate hero, my legend, the one person I've always followed in life to guide me as a human being, whether it be football, whether it be as a human being, mentally, everything is Billy Bonds. I love Billy Bonds with a passion. He is just the greatest human being I've ever met in my life. I remember when I was a kid, and I'm going back to the Nottingham Forest. This is emotional for me. I'm feeling drained. You know what I mean? I'm feeling really drained tonight.
Just sleep well tonight. Don't worry. As long as dogs don't keep you up.
I'm feeling drained. Going back to the Forest match, my first match. And I wanted to get the players' autographs after the match. I wanted to meet them all. And anyway, we lost 1-0. Yeah. And I got around to the players' entrance. And I wanted to get all the players' autographs. And as I got around to the players' entrance, I'll never forget, Billy Bonds was walking out. And he had his shirt half undone, and his hair was all wet. Yeah. And he was in such a hurry to get home to his wife and family,
Yeah.
And I mean, I had literally walked with the crowds from the chicken run round to the players' entrance, and he was already getting out because he wanted to get home with his wife and family, his wife and kids.
Yeah.
And I looked at Billy that day. I was 12 years old, and I thought to myself, why can't I have a dad like that? Why can't I have a dad that wants to come home to us all the time? Do you know what I mean? I was always jealous of kids that had dads. You know what I mean? It was like, you buggers, you know what I mean? You got a dad, you got to respect that. You got to not take it for granted.
No.
And I looked at this strong 6'2" bloke who was a hero, and he was like, no, but I've got to get home to me wife and kids. And it was like, but why can't I have you as my dad? Do you know what I mean? It was like,
yeah.
He was like, look, Billy Bonds, I can't say more about Billy Bonds than that. He's God to me.
Yeah.
When I was going back a few years later in 1987, he played against Wimbledon at Upton Park. And they were a nasty team, Wimbledon. They were a nasty, let's get it right there, all right? Fashion You, Jones, they were a nasty, nasty football team. They didn't go about football in the right way. I don't care what anyone says. I'm a big Brian Clough fan also, and he had a big part to play in my life. Football's supposed to be played in the right way, And Wimbledon were a nasty team. And this is how football was back then, you know. Vinnie Jones tried it on with Billy Bonds in 1987 in front of the South Bank, right? He tried it on. Oh, and he got Billy Bonds, all right. He got him with a tackle. He had an horrible tackle. And this is what football was like back then. Billy Bonds got Vinnie Jones by the neck and just slapped him, right in front of the referee. The referee laughed and walked away. And Vinnie Jones did not touch Billy Bonds again. He didn't touch him again, you know. You didn't mess with Billy Bonds. Look, Billy Bonds for me, I've got, just quickly, look, if you look in the corner there, can you see that? Can you see that top in the corner? It's a pony top.
Yeah.
You know what that is? I'll show you what it is quickly. Look.
Go on in.
This top here. See that top?
Yeah.
That's Billy Bonds' training top when he was West Ham manager, match worn.
Wow.
That's the top he used to wear when he managed West Ham.
Brilliant. That's amazing.
That is it, yeah. You know?
That's amazing,
yeah, he's my hero. He's my hero. He's my god. I've got 3 West Ham gods: Trevor Brooking, Billy Bonds, and Frank McAvenny. You know,
yeah.
So that's where it rolls. Anyway, we done Billy Bonds. Next up front, we got Tony Cottee. Obviously, Tony Cottee was a West Ham legend, a West Ham supporter. Went to the 1980 FA Cup final. Loved West Ham. He's still a West Ham boy. When I was a photographer, I remember personally being at where was I? Charlton Athletics Grand, doing a match. I forget who it was against, but I was in the press lounge and Tony Cottee was there. And West Ham were playing Chelsea away, and it was live on Sky. Yeah. And I got to sit next to Tony Cottee to watch the first half. Wow. Next to Tony Cottee to watch the first half, on Sky. Cool, and me and him just chatting like we were mates,
Yeah.
They were special times. Tony knew I was this guy's a proper West Ham supporter, and we got on like an house on fire. And then at half time, I had to go to the toilet, etc. And then when I came back, he was just surrounded by other people, And I remember him looking for me, and I was touched by that, So, absolutely top bloke, Tony.
Top man. TC.
Oh, I love Tony. I love his honesty, and I think Tony is a lovely, humble man. He's a beautiful human being. Next to him is like I said, look, one of my West Ham gods is Frank McAvenny.
Yeah,
Frank McAvenny. He's just an absolute legend. I remember when Frank McAvenny played for West Ham in a pre-season match before the 1985-86 season against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. I was there. He played an absolute probably stinker. We was all looking at him thinking, who the hell have we signed here?
Yeah.
I remember getting his autograph after the match outside Selhurst Park. Never forget it. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. Hold on. Never forget it. I got his autograph. And no one else was interested in him, and he just walked off into the distance to get into his car and drive off into the South London night. Frank McAvenny for me, I tell you what now, this is Frank McAvenny. I'm honoured to be friends with Frank McAvenny on Facebook, okay? Frank McAvenny has given us a donation last year to our charity for the dogs, okay? This is a gent this Frank McAvenny man is, all right? He gave us a donation towards the dogs last year, which he didn't have to, right? This man is. People remember Frank McAvenny for the goals and mucking around about the birds and all this bullshit, right? Let me tell you something about Frank. If you was in trouble, that's the one man you'd want next to you, because what it is with Frank McAvenny is he is 100% loyal. Loyalty is coming out of his pores. When he came back to us for the second spot, he could have gone to Arsenal, who was going to win the league, and he came to us and got relegated. But besides all that, take the football away. Look at the personal stuff, life stuff. Frank McAvenny is a very, very good, sensitive human being. He's a lovely, lovely man. Take the football stuff away. He's just a caring and a kind human being. I had the honour to meet Frank on many an occasion. And, when I was a young boy walking around South London, I never had no boundaries. I didn't know about you can't wear this and you can't wear that. I used to have my West Ham top on Millwall territory. I used to have McAvenny on the back in the mid-'80s, and Millwall fans are going, what are you doing? You can't wear this, man. You know what I mean? Like, you're in Millwall territory. It's like, well, that's who I am. I'm West Ham. Do you know what I mean? I was just proud of it. It was like, I don't care. I am who I am, and that's it. Whatever comes my way, comes my way. And I always remember McAvenny on the back of me top in 1985, 86, and what a player, what a man. But going back, it was just like, it it's really, really special to me. People say to me, obviously, I've got people that are close to me. I've got family members, etc. And they say, oh, look, this guy's crazy. He's crazy, West Ham.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I realise football's not just football for some people. Football's a comfort blanket.
Yeah.
And football is a comfort blanket that has saved me from doing some things in life when I felt depressed and anxious,
Yeah.
And I thank West Ham United Football Club from the bottom of my heart for taking me through some of the toughest times in my life. I thank my heart for that. I thank the history of that. I thank the players I knew, not the players of today, because I can't relate to them. All right, that's not my gig.
Nah. Yeah.
The old days. All right, I wouldn't give you tuppence for any of them players. End of. All right, I've seen them. I've met a lot of them, and I remember the last season at Upton Park, 2016. I got a farewell bowling flag signed, which is over there, and the players barely had the energy to sign it for me. It was like almost in disgust, So not my cup of tea. My day's gone.
Yeah, I get that.
All I do now is I've got the beautiful memories in my head. I've got this West Ham room here where I can go back in time, and I've got 42 dogs outside, which I've got to look after every day.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's life, That's life.
Yeah.
But it's been great. It's been wonderful, and I've loved every minute of it. And, if you don't mind, we're going through a terrible time at the moment with the charity. We've been trolled for 5 years, every day for 5 years. We was a very, very successful charity, like I said before. But now we struggle even to buy a bag of dog food. So if you don't mind, Russ, would it be possible for you to put a few things out there for the charity?
Definitely, mate. Give me. Do you want to? What is it?
Well, just if anyone out there wants to donate, we haven't even got the money. We was a very successful charity, but we haven't even got. We're called thedogyouneed.com. Thedogyouneed.com. We haven't even got the money to keep our website going, which is why it's closed now. So if you go on there, you won't get on it. If Russ doesn't mind, I'll send Russ a link to our fundraising page on Facebook and our Happy Ever After page on Facebook, which shows pictures of the dogs and the work we do. But if people would be kind enough to donate to our charity for the dogs, where we need food for the dogs and vet treatment, you can donate via PayPal, which is Peter, my name, at thedogyouneed.com, which is TheDogyouneed.com. I could give out the bank details, but it's not worth it.
Don't do it. Yeah, just do the PayPal. That's all right, man.
But yeah, if anyone would like to give us any money, PayPal, Peter at thedogyouneed.com, that'd be fantastic. And we're going through a horrendous time at the minute. We really are. And looking after 42 dogs. I don't want to see any of them hungry. Dogs are, a very important part of my life, a very important part. So, Russ, I just want to say to you, thank you so much for tonight. It's been brilliant.
Absolute pleasure, man.
And I also want to say, I've had a bit of an anxious day today. I don't know why. I've had a good couple of weeks. I keep a diary at the minute regarding my anxiety and depression. Yeah. And I don't know why, but I've had a bit of an anxious day today, which didn't sort of obviously isn't much fun. But speaking to you tonight regarding my old memories of West Ham United Football Club in a glorious period has taken my anxiety away tonight.
Brilliant.
So
Brilliant.
For you, Russ, as a human being, I'd like to thank you for that, because
pleasure. Thank you very much.
That's a very nice thing to happen. And it's a very nice thing to speak to someone who likewise supports the same football club as you.
Yeah, there's plenty of us.
Just a lovely chat about a football club that we all love.
No, thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, no, it's been lovely. I love listening to people's memories because they're always so personal, and I appreciate your words. It's very, very kind. And obviously, thank you to everyone who's been watching. Obviously, we'll have the link to the charity, to Peter's PayPal in the description below. But give it a like, give it a share. If you're listening to anything else, give it a like, give it a share. And
also, finally, just quickly, finally. I pick up on people's energies a lot.
Yeah, sure.
I've got this thing about me that picks up on people's energies. There's something about you that is a very, very good energy. Okay.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that the lunchtime things you're doing.
Yeah.
The way you speak, the way you handle people, it almost comforts people, right? And in this time that we're going through in COVID, okay, COVID-19 and lockdowns, etc., I believe you have a little bit of a gift there of making people feel a little bit good. So keep it up.
Thank you. I always try to be happy. So yeah, cheers, man.
Absolute pleasure.
So for me and Peter, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Come in your irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone.
Take care, mate.
Much love.